Today I want to try making another sculpture. I've used ultra clear premium epoxy resin from Eparency, so it's 2:1 volume. I've mixed up 375 grams in this cup, so 250 plus 125 for the 2:1 volume. Make sure you stir it for 3 minutes. Also scrape the bottom and the sides. I've done another cup as well because I'm not sure how much I'll need for this project, but this one was 300 grams, so I've got the 375 and 300, so that's 675 in total. I'm going to try these pearl powder micro colours today. I'm not sure where I got them from. It could have been Temu. So I've got two different colour greens, a white and a red. I've got silver leaf. I bought that at the discount shop in my hometown, and that's a silver leaf, and I want to use that around the edges. I'm not sure how much I'm going to need of these, but we'll start with just a little bit of each. I want them to be really bright. I might have to go and see, it's very pearl. That's a real pearl white, and it's looking quite clear at the moment, which is not really what I want. No, I'm going to have to put maybe the titanium white in that one. And this one here is very, very, that's quite, yeah, it's still translucent. Looks more like a brown. I'm not keen on that. I'm going to go back and get some more colours. I've got my titanium white from Just Resin and my red from Solid Solution. So this is a real tomato red. I'm going to add a little bit of that in and see if it makes a difference. I probably should have started with that to start off with. Titanium white. I'll just grab another little stick here. I'm not so worried about the greens. I could add a paste for the greens, but I think I might leave those ones and see how that effect turns out. Pop some around the edges. I'm not sure if I should put it in the resin or whether I should just do this, but let's try this for starters. Let's see. So the next colour I think we'll go with is red. try going like a strips here. And now we'll try a green. I probably didn't need as much green as I do with the other colours, but I might even put a little bit of green around the edges as well. And against the white, that looks quite pretty. I don't want it too thin on the edges, and that's what I'm worried about with the rope, that it's going to make the edges so thin that it's going to just break when I try and form it. Let's put a little bit more red. So far I'm liking the colours together. Just need to make sure I don't have too thin an edge. Maybe if I run my finger, that might just help it a little bit. Oh, this is flowing out, this one, so I'm going to have to stop that. That's what the rope's there for. I've moved the rope and now I've got a problem there. Oh well, that's all part of living and learning. I think it needs more white. So we'll mix up a little bit more pearl in it. And I'll put a little bit of the titanium white in it. Just a smidgen. The size of this is around 45 centimetres by 45, just roughly, if you're wondering. I think we'll go for a little bit more white around here. Put a little bit too much red, which I don't really want around the edges so much. I think if I had to do it again, I mean the rope does help. It doesn't look too bad actually. I'll put a little bit more white here in the middle. Never know how it's going to turn out. It's one of those things with resin. It's does its own thing I'm quite happy with the way that's starting to look though. I'm not going to put any more green in. I've got a little bit of green left, but I think I'll leave it. Might not even need any more of the white really. I'm wondering if I should put a little bit more silver leaf. I might even put some in the white, and then that might help it to go in the right spots. So we might break that up. Just break that up and just mix it up in the white. The weight of it might even help it to just stay there a bit more. Okay, some of this stuff here needs to be moved. How do you think it's looking? Make sure you comment so I can know what you're thinking. It's always nice to get some feedback and know if you're enjoying the video and if you're getting anything out of it. If you don't like it, if you'd like me to do things differently, if you've got any suggestions, it all helps. Don't know whether to put a little bit more green in here, just some little veins. I think that'll do. I'll leave it. Let's see you all in about 4 to 5 hours, so about 5 or 6 o'clock. Here I am with this hopefully soon to be sculpture. Oh boy, did I have trouble last night. This was not drying. Okay, now I don't know if my room was too cold. They do say it's got to be between 21 and 24 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure if it was the mix. I really don't know, but usually, you know, it's touch dry between 4 to 5 hours. And I have made sculptures before and I've never had this problem where it's been, you know, I checked at 10 o'clock and it was not right. So this was in the night. So I went to bed. Well, actually I didn't. First I nearly wrecked the whole thing because I realised it sort of stuck to the, it had leaked and it stuck to the bottom of the other plastic I had on the bench. And so I got myself into a real mess. I was trying to hold it and lift it and get rid of the silicone rope and the other piece of plastic at the same time. And oh boy, did I nearly wreck the whole thing. But that was, I really needed 4 pairs of hands and I only had 2. So here we are, and I've got it here. I'm going to just set myself up. I've got my former here, which my husband kindly made up for me. I haven't used this before. Usually I just use a jar or a bowl. So I've placed my silicone mat over that, and I'm going to in a moment try and put this piece on here. Now I'll just set myself up and see if I can manage, and I'll be back. Forgot to mention that it's about quarter 5:45 in the morning. I'm still in my night gear, but when you've got to do these things, that's what we've got to do. So here we have it. It is sort of stuck to the silicone mat as well. And I'm just going to lift it over here and I'll turn the camera around so you can see. And I'm going to try putting it on here without making too much of a mess. Lining it up. I was worried that it would be too dry and I wouldn't be able to do anything with it, but so far so good. And I'm going to see if I can put some cups, silicone cups under here so it doesn't normally I use something else, but I did tell him I wanted a pretty big base on it, so he has done that for me. But we weren't sure the positioning of these rods that he's put on. And at the moment it's not looking too bad actually. Oh, I keep dropping the cups, but that's because it's early in the morning and I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm not going to play with it too much either. I'm going to just try and form a couple of little pleats here and then I'm going to leave it. Here I am back again. It's a beautiful sunny day. I've left that to dry on the former, and yesterday I actually put it up like this and left it like that, and it was still obviously not quite dry, and it just sort of started to flop, so I had to put it back on the former. So it can take, you know, quite a while, a few days to really set properly, so just be aware of that. But let's take the plastic out and see what we've got here. Oh dear. My tape has stuck. That's something I didn't bargain on. Oh no, here it comes. Geez, that worried me for a minute. I thought that tape was going to stick on my... Oh, that would have been disastrous. I wouldn't have been able to get that off if it had stuck. Usually the plastic, you see that will all come off, that plastic. There's little bits of plastic there. I don't know if you can see, but little bits of plastic, which I'll have to get off. They'll come off. Just have to be patient with them. I thought I'd put a few little, you know, bits and bobs on it, just to give it a bit of sparkle in some spots. Not everywhere, just a few selected spots. I'll put them on with the UV resin and the UV light. I'll use that. I'm going to have to get all these little bits off. So I've got a knife there, or the nail file. I find this little nail file is really good for this sort of thing. So I did want a thin piece, and it is thin. I'll have to file that down too, because otherwise it might be a little bit of a sharp edge there. So that can be filed. Okay, I've got my mask on and my gloves. Just got to be very careful when you're doing the filing, because those particles can be dangerous if inhaled. If you get a bit of a flat edge, it'll be good for the pen. Round those ones off, they're not pointy and sharp. These pens are designed to, you're supposed to press down to get the ink coming out of them. I'm still not sure if I'm going to like it or not. I wonder if a bronze one would look better. I think you can still take that off while it's wet. I might just give it a try with the bronze one, or chrome. It's liquid. It's called liquid chrome. Silver Mirror marker, but this one's a... I don't know, do you think mixing the silver with the gold, it doesn't sort of almost, well, it's bronze more than... Okay, I'm going to try this and I'll come back, because I want to sit down and pay attention to what I'm doing, so I'll come back and show you. Well, I'm finished. Not without some dramas. That plastic that was on the surface, and I've still got some tiny little bits that I can only really get them off with my nails. I did put them put it under hot water, and I use this magic sponge here, and I managed to get some of it off with that. Yeah, I don't know, that plastic, obviously I'm not going to use that again. It just stuck in little bits, and I didn't want to sand it because I thought I might ruin it, so I just kept persevering, and most of it just comes off with your nail after a while. So one thing I did discover though, by putting it under hot water, because I was hoping the hot water would get rid of it, there's still a little bit there, but I'm just going to have to keep picking at it with my nail until it comes off. It's so fine. But one thing I did discover was that I was able to just mould it a little bit more because, you know, because it's still a little bit soft, there's a little bit of give there. So under the hot water, it had even more give, and I was able to get a really nice shape. So that was a success. That was an unexpected little tip that that I learned. Now with I've done the little chrome tips over the whole thing, as you can see there, and then I popped a little bit of UV resin on the top and just brushed that on just to make sure that it doesn't come off. And I've put my little N for Nunzi insignia there at the top. You can see it there. So that's looking pretty good. Look at the bottom and the sides, and I did put a couple of little gems in there as well. Not much, just to give it that little bit more interest. So on both sides there, there's there, if you can see it. I would love to hear from you, and any comments, any suggestions. Here we are, I've done my base and turned out quite pretty, but you won't see that, so it's a bit of a shame because the sculpture's going to go on top. That's the back of it, but this side's got the bit of a lip, so when I pour the resin on, hopefully it'll just, it won't overflow. I've got to be careful not to put too much on because once it starts to overflow, it becomes a bit of a problem and it ruins the nice sides. I've given that a light sand around that edge so it's nice and smooth. And I'm ready to pop my sculpture on. So I'll just show you a photo of how that will look. So what I've got to do now is pour this resin. It's got a lot of bubbles in it this morning. I've had a bit of trouble with the being cold, and I popped it on the heat mat. But let's pour just a little bit on. We'll leave it at that for the moment and give it a bit of a torch. It gets rid of the bubbles anyway. The bubbles are gone now. Okay, so I don't want to, I know when I pop the sculpture on it's going to spread, so let's do that now.